Right. Okay, thank you very much for coming. This presentation is about the gentle giant anteater. Some of you may know this species. I've been bringing this work for some hyena conferences, and this is kind of integrating all the information we have so far on this iconic species. Well, we all know this, that billions of animals are road-killed every year, every day, millions at least. Some impressive numbers have been published, for example, on those top papers on the screen, reaching over 200 million mammals in Brazil, nearly 30 million in Europe every year. So we all know that virtually all species inhabiting road surrounding areas are subjected to this impact. And this is why the road ecology publications has been rising along the time, has this type of conferences. But in the end, we come to this difficulty, this question that we still don't know much about what is the real impact of roadkill on population persistence. So there's very few works that were able to reach some numbers. In the bottom we have this publication we recently published, which is about exactly road ecology publications and what's the proportion that actually were able to calculate the impact on population persistence. And we found that about 2% of road ecology publications actually did this, which is a very low number, and even lower number of species known to be impacted, at least by the IUCN, known to be vulnerable to road effect. So there's still a lot of knowledge, gap of knowledge on this issue. And of course, Rodney and colleagues some years ago published this, I would say, seminal paper. All we need is you just need an exposure measure for a given species, and the abundance on that area. If you mix both information, then we could have some kind of knowledge on the impact of roads on population persistence. Of course, we all know that this type of data is very difficult to obtain. Luckily, in this giant anteater project, we were able, with time, to gather some information that I'm here now presenting and taking a chance to present some numbers. Of course, this is far from being highly certain, but at least we got into this stage that we could suggest a number of impact. And this is very important for mitigation and planning of the current road network ongoing in Brazil and our study area. So our main three goals here in this study was to obtain credible estimates on the probability of survival of giant anteaters inhabiting road surrounding areas and those living far from roads, and estimate, as far as I can go, on the proportion of animals that are annually road killed on main roads. We then use this information and to feed population viability analysis to assess the consequences of roadkill for population growth rate and persistence on road surrounding areas. Okay. So this is our study area. This is Mato Grosso do Sul in Brazil. In the thick white lines, you have the roads that have been surveyed for the past 6 years. Here I'm presenting, I will tell you this, the roadkill data from the 3 years in systematic surveys. But you can see, you don't have the scale, but from one point to the other of Mato Grosso do Sul, it's more than 1,000 kilometers. And these guys are doing these surveys every 2 weeks. So it's a huge survey effort on roadkill data. And in the squares, you have the study areas where we are trapped and are following. This keep passing by, and I don't know how to fix this. But in those windows, it's the study areas CDE, where we trapped and are following giant anteaters. Already we have 46, current today is more animals, but in this study is 46 animals. In the panel F, you see some of the home ranges of our animals, and you can see that some do not cross the road. This is just an example, and some do cross the roads, some often, some occasionally. We have all types of data. Okay, so I was saying the first paper is where we took the data from roadkill. It was published last year, where we present some raw data on roadkill rates of 0.19 individuals kilometer per year. We corrected this information considering those bias of carcass persistence and observer quality, and we came out with most likely numbers of roadkill rates reaching 0.3 to 0.48 individuals per kilometer per year. In the top right paper is where we present the movement data. So I said we had 46 animals, males and females, tracked on average 1 year with fixes, positions taken every 20 minutes. So this data allowed us to obtain estimates on survival near and far from roads. Okay, we were able to compare these two types of groups. And recently, we also were able to develop this population viability analysis on Vortex. Because of this huge project, we were able to feed very well the Vortex model. For those who knows, you need a lot of parameters in these models, but we feed the model pretty well. It's a very robust model, which gives us confidence on this population viability analysis. Of course, we are still missing some sound estimates on animal density and abundance. We are working on that with camera trapping and all that, but it's a huge study area, and we have some information, but still we went to bibliographic research to help us on getting some sound estimates on these densities. We searched for Easy Web of Knowledge and Google Scholar for current from past publications, and which I will present briefly. So passing to results, the first result is the probability of survival, and we see here in this plot that it's really different when you compare those individuals living nearby roads with those living far away. So here, the group 1 is those individuals living far. You see the probability of persistence of survival near roads is about 95% of an individuals living far from a main road, whereas those living near roads at the end of 1 year got this probability of being alive of around 75–80%. So this is a significant decrease. Already? Okay. From the literature review, we got the density values ranging between 0.2 and 0.4 density individuals per square kilometer. We have reasons to believe that the most likely value is 0.3, so in the middle. And when we combine the roadkill information corrected for those bias and with these density estimates, we project that roadkill is removing about 20% of the population living nearby the road. No, it's not the whole population, it's those individuals living near the road, which is the middle point here. And when you put all this information into the population viability analysis, we start by comparing those simulations without roadkill. So it's the dashed line horizontal for comparison and the interval of confidence. And you see that the growth rate without removal by roadkill, even without catastrophes, is around 0.05. So this allows population to strive which is what you expect. When you remove individuals at that roadkill rate, we see that for the most likely scenario of density of 0.3, this growth rate reaches around 0, so, or even less. So this means that the population will decrease with time. This is visible in this scenario, and I'm showing here the simulations, summary of the simulations for the model, for the simulations without catastrophes. And we can see that the straight green line is the baseline using the lower abundance, so 0.2 individuals per kilometer. So, and you can see that population is steady a long time. When you add the roadkill information, you see all the simulations going down. So the dotted line is when you have a lower roadkill rate. The dashed line is when we have a higher roadkill rate. The colors represent the different densities we are considering. So if we see the orange simulations, which is the most likely density, in all cases, the population goes down, okay? So this means that roads can be sink areas. So we are reaching this information finally that, independent of it's really 20% of the population being extirpated, if more or less, we are now showing that it's most likely these main roads are sink areas for the giant anteater. It's very likely that this pattern is repeated for other large mammals like tapir, which is also a highly roadkill species in the area, and other species. So this is it. If I don't have much more time, and presenting you finally this number, and this we have these robust estimates that roads are in fact sink areas. You can read all this information in the paper, just came out. And finally, to thank all this huge team of Brazilian and other people from abroad that work in this project, led by Arnaud Desbiez in the top left. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Fernando. This is impressive work.
It is.
One question? Marcus?
Is it on? Yes, okay. Well, thank you. Nice presentation, Fernando. I have one question. If you compare these two different kind of situations, so with traffic, with the road and far away, is it only the roadkill that is leading to the decrease of the population, or is it also noise or traffic light?
No, let me see if I get it. This species is very, as far as we can say, it's not very vulnerable to sounds or disturbance. Yeah. This is a very peaceful, he's feeding, he's on his own, there's no predators around. The main threats are dogs and diseases. There's no jaguars around to hunt them. So it's a very peaceful species. You can see all the cattle and then the giant anteater. No one is really caring about the species because it's doing no harm. So, the main threat is traffic.
And the habitat is comparable. It's also the same.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. Yeah, all the study areas are in the Cerrado, which is like a savanna. In the west side, you have a more pristine area because it's near Pantanal, so it's very close to Pantanal. So lower human presence, but it's very much alike.
Yeah, what I mean is the habitat near the road is.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We test that in the movement paper. We test all those confounding things, and it's pretty much the same.
Okay. One short question.
Yeah, I promise. Great, impressive study. So how did you define remote terrain versus living really close to the road?
So this is the very good question. Okay, I skipped that because of the time. But From the movement paper, we know that those individuals with home range, the center of the home range, far away, further from 2 kilometers, were very unlikely to cross the road. Okay, so we put this boundary on 2 kilometers for each side. Okay, this is. We can discuss this, but this is the closest we could get from an objective measure of near and far.
So it's related to the home range you could scale up to.
Yeah. And the movement, so we know that those that we classified as far away were very unlikely to approach the road.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.